Welcome to this week's Word Study. 2 weeks ago, on December 11th, I posted a Word Study titled, About the First and Second Resurrections. The first resurrection involving 3 points. Number 1, the resurrection of Yeshua when he was raised from the dead. Number 2, those resurrected at the Netchatef, the Rapture. And number 3, those resurrected after being beheaded for his name's sake during the 7-year tribulation. And the second resurrection involving all unbelievers being raised unto eternal judgment at the end of the millennium. Both resurrections involve different kinds of judgments. But since the second resurrection only concerns itself with the judgment of unbelievers, and for the sake of not spending time on that, I'm focusing today's study on the judgment that happens at the first resurrection, that is, after the Netchatef, the Rapture. And that involves the Bema Seat judgment. Shaul, that's Paul, drew encouragement and motivation about the rewards which are to be received at the return of Yeshua for his Kodeshim, that is, those who are truly dedicated to Elohim, the called out ones, which Shaul mentions in every chapter in 1 Thessalonians, and which is the primary subject of 2 Thessalonians. The Kodeshim are the called out ones, that is, those who have been called out of the world by Yahweh, Abba Father. That is, those who have not only received the indwelling Ruach, Spirit, but who have received the filling of the Ruach. Make a note, whenever you see the word church in your Bible, replace it with called out ones and see what happens. Now, there are rewards received by those who have learned to pitch their tents with Elohim, those who have recognized opportunities to do his will in their lives, and there are rewards not received by those who have missed opportunities to do his will in their lives. This happens at the Bema Seat judgment after the Netchatef. Some people are troubled by this teaching because it seems to suggest the idea of works instead of grace. Nonetheless, it is so. Our works do bring rewards, and our lack of works cause us to miss out on receiving rewards. Remember my study on Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. I'll put a link to it here. You'll see this graphic at the end of this video. You'll be able to click on it then. Also, it'll be in the more info section below this video. You'll see a link. But the idea, Ephesians 2:8 says, it's by grace that we are saved through faith. And the idea of grace is not exactly right. We are saved by pitching our tent with Elohim. And if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, and if you haven't watched that video, click on it at the end of this video and you'll get the full understanding. But those who are troubled by this truth, that we are rewarded at the Bema Seat judgment for the good works that we've done, are simply those who have not understood the difference between the works of the flesh versus the works of the indwelling Ruach HaKodesh. Many have sought to gain, for example, notoriety by performing works of the flesh. Pastors, priests, evangelists who often boast about missions they have conducted where thousands of souls were saved for Jesus, quote unquote, or about the $1 million Christian college they've built, and so on. Efforts of their own making and of their own doing. Such things are the works of the flesh. And the rewards received for those kinds of works are immediate and worthless as well, because the rewards you get for those kind of works are the assumed admiration of others, as such persons make their boasts about their great achievements in this world. There are works done by the Kodeshim, which are not works of the flesh, works that are truly performed by the indwelling Ruach, works that one cannot claim as their own. And if you've experienced this, you'll know what I'm talking about. You may have done something really wonderful, and it was done through you, but you know that you couldn't have done this yourself by your own strength, by your own power. These are the kinds of works that bring rewards at the judgment of the Bema Seat. Both Romans 14:10 and 2 Corinthians 5:9 speak of a so-called judgment seat by the translation of one Greek word, Bema. And the word Bema refers to a raised platform where a Roman magistrate or ruler sat to make decisions and pass sentence. See Matthew 27:19, John 19:13, and specifically its use in the epistles by Shaul, that's Paul, is due to Greek athletic contests. The word Bema was taken from the games of Greece, where contestants would compete for a prize under the careful scrutiny of judges who would make sure that every rule of the contest was obeyed. Take a look at 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 5. The victor of a given event who participated according to the rules was led by the judge to the platform called the Bema, and there a laurel wreath was placed on his head as a symbol of victory. Take a look at 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24 and 25. Note, the judge at the Bema Seat bestowed rewards to the victors. He did not whip the losers or sentence them to hard labor. In other words, it portrays a time of examination followed by eternal rewards or loss of eternal rewards. But it is not a time of punishment where believers are judged for their sins. The sins of the Kodeshim have all been covered by the blood of Yeshua. The Bema Seat judgment will occur immediately following the Netchatef, the Rapture, the first resurrection of the Kodeshim, after they are caught up to be with Yeshua in the air as described in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 13 through 18. We see in Luke chapter 14, verse 14, that rewards are associated with the resurrection of the Kodeshim, and the Netchatef is the event where the Kodeshim are resurrected. In Revelation chapter 19, verse 8, when Yeshua returns with his bride at the end of the tribulation, she is seen already rewarded. Her reward is described as fine linen, the righteous acts of the Kodeshim, undoubtedly the result of rewards. In 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8, and in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 5, rewards are associated with that day, capital D, and with Yeshua's coming for the Kodeshim, the called out ones. This means the event of 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 13 through 18, the Netchatef. So, first, we have the Netchatef, which includes glorification of the body, eternal bodies of flesh and bone, and being taken into the Shamayim, the heavens, to be with Yeshua forever. Then there will be an examination before the Bema Seat, which brings rewards eternally, or no rewards eternally, depending on one's achievements in life through the indwelling Ruach. Yeshua will be the judge. The Bema Seat judgment will occur somewhere in the Shamayim and in the presence of Yeshua. Look at 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17, Revelation chapter 4, verse 2, and Revelation chapter 19, verse 8. All the scriptures which deal with the Bema Seat judgment or with rewards are addressed to the Kodeshim or pertain to the Kodeshim, the called out ones. You can look at Romans chapter 14, verses 10 through 12. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 12. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 9. 1 John chapter 2, verse 28. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 19 and 20. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 18 and 19. Titus chapter 2, verses 12 through 14. And note the emphasis on good works. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The way to express your love for Elohim to him is through obedience to his word. Let me make some important points about having a lack of obedience towards Elohim. When we are disobeying Yahweh's commandments, we will experience a loss of fellowship with him. And this will include a consequent loss of joy and peace in our lives. Take a look at Psalm 32, verses 3 and 4. We will experience discipline from Elohim here in time. Yahweh disciplines those he loves. Don't think of discipline as punishment. Discipline from Yahweh is the work of a loving father to teach his children. This may come in the form of various kinds of testing, trials, failures, and predicaments which he uses to correct us and to teach us. And if we have been going our own stubborn way, to increase our misery. His goal, however, is always to bring us back to him. Look at Hebrews chapter 12, verses 5 through 11. If a believer remains unwilling to change, this can lead to sin unto death, as seen with Ananias and Sapphira in Acts chapter 5, and with some of the believers at Corinth who were unwilling to confess their failings in 1 Corinthians 11:28 and 1 John chapter 5, verses 16 and 17. We can experience a loss of power and production when we are unwilling to face our failings through honest confession. Look at 1 John chapter 1, verse 9. The believer's bar of soap, 1 John 1:9. Read it. We confess our sins. He is faithful and true to cleanse us and forgive us. But we grieve the Ruach and we quench the power of the Ruach in our lives if we are unwilling to confess or recognize our failings. This means that rather than operating by faith, and remember, grace is pitching your tent with Elohim, him pitching his tent with you. Faith is being washed by and growing in his word. So, when I say rather than operating by faith, rather than being washed by his word, and rather than growing in our understanding and knowledge of his word, we wind up operating in the flesh. We turn to our own personal understanding about how to deal with things. Look at Galatians chapter 3, verses 1 through 5, and chapter 5, verses 5 through 15. Also take a look at Jeremiah chapter 2, verses 12 and 13. And that results in the works of the flesh and their fruitless consequences. Look at Galatians again, chapter 5, verses 19 through 21, and also verse 26. Without a life of pitching our tent with Elohim, and without growing in his word, being washed by his word, without being obedient to his word, we can do nothing worthwhile. Look at John chapter 15, verses 1 through 7. I'm giving you a lot of homework this week. We can also experience loss of opportunities when we are in charge of our lives rather than Elohim. We become insensitive to people and to the opportunities of serving him. We lack spiritual sight. Those who love the world cannot see beyond their own personal agendas and selfish goals. Look at John chapter 4, verse 34. So, adding a little bit to what I gave you 2 weeks ago on the first resurrection, part of that first resurrection is the Netchatef, everybody calls the rapture. Those who are taken up to meet Yeshua in the air and to be with him forever in the Shamayim. Shortly right after that, all of them, those who were dead and were raised, I was having a conversation with a good friend about this, wondering, when the Netchatef happens, will the world really even know it? Some people think, the graves are going to explode and all kinds of people are going to disappear and the whole world's going to be going, whoa, what happened? Maybe. Maybe not. Those who are believers and who have died and are buried, most of whom are nothing but dust. I believe that Yahweh is going to, in the twinkling of an eye, just that dust is going to be raised and transformed instantly. I don't think anything physical is going to happen, like, graves are opened, and I don't think the world's going to see anything. Personally, I think the world may be completely unaware that anything happened. And there might be a lot of missing persons reports coming in, but that may be kind of ignored and explained away. At any rate, those believers who have passed away, they're in the Shamayim already. They're just waiting for their bodies. They're in spirit. Their bodies are taken up, and all of a sudden they're going to have flesh and bone bodies. I wonder, what, can they eat right now? Maybe they. waiting for their bodies. We don't know what that means. I look forward to having conversations with them later and asking questions like that. But their dust, or whatever of them is in the earth or under the sea, it's just going to be taken up and transformed. Yahweh's just going to put all that DNA back together, and bang, bodies of flesh and bone, glorified, eternal bodies. Shortly after that, and I believe that's, very shortly, very quickly after that, those of us who are still on the earth and are alive, you can read this in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, we are taken up, and we see them in the air. And in that split second, the twinkling of an eye, our bodies are transformed, flesh and bone, but glorified and made eternal. We're up there. Shortly after that, there is going to be the Bema Seat judgment. Yeshua will be the judge. And, of course, no one is going to, be judged for any wrongdoings. All of our sins are covered by him. They never existed. They never happened. But there are rewards to be received, and crowns. I meant to cover the crowns. I did a video a long time ago about the crowns. I'll put a link to that at the end of this video too. You can check that out. There are rewards. We receive crowns. Not everyone does. Some will receive no rewards. And the point to that is the rewards that are missed for all of eternity. The rewards that we do receive are eternal rewards, crowns that are going to be a mark of our character forever. These are important rewards, my friends. Paul always talks about run that race to win it, to get the prize. Man, there are rewards that we can't imagine, but if we see rewards we could have had but didn't because we were too focused on the things of this world and not focused enough on our time with him and his word and prayer life, it'll be something to regret forever. Something to think about. Anyway, that's our study for this week. As always, I hope and I pray that this study is a beracha to you and yours. Abba willing, I'll see you here next week. Until then, shalom, my friends.
Now 2,000 years have gone by, it's another working day. Some would rather let it lie, but the question still remains.